Hi, friends. It's Emily. I hope you are doing well. I am coming on today during lunch. I don't have a whole lot of time. I have the worst headache today. Um, but I want to talk about Mec Dec Day. This is a really important day for those of us in North Carolina. I was born and raised here. I've lived literally mountains to sea in the past 45 years. And so this day was really celebrated back when I was early elementary school. There used to be a time when this was a holiday day and people did not work on Mec Dec Day, especially those in the Charlotte Mecklenburg area. And let's talk about why. So, really quickly, you may see this logo on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram today. This logo celebrates today, May 20th, 2025, being the 250th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. And this is really important because it is part of our legacy stemming from the American Revolution all the way to today. It is what started our separation from Great Britain. North Carolina played a really important, critical, key role in helping set up the Declaration of Independence that was signed July 4th, 1776. But what we're celebrating today is the 250th anniversary of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. Now, let me just stop and say that there is a lot of controversy about whether or not this document even exists. A lot of folks think that this may be a posthumous, so someone posted this after one of the people that is said to have signed this died. And it is a retelling of what had been the Mecklenburg Resolves. Okay, so there are a lot of people, though, that say that this document actually existed. It was lost in a fire in the 1800s and therefore has been recreated based on memory, but that the document itself actually did exist and predated the Mecklenburg County Resolves. But this is important because if you are, and let me take myself and this image down. If you look at our North Carolina flag, there are two dates on it in the left, in the banner to the left. There is May 20th, 1775. That's today's anniversary, right? The second date is April 12th, 1776, and that is when the Halifax Resolves were signed, and that is what predated the Declaration of Independence that we know nationally that was signed on July 4th, 1776. So this date not only exists on our North Carolina flag, it is the first date at the top, May 20th, 1775. It is also on our state seal. Our state seal, the Great Seal of the State of North Carolina, at the bottom you see Esse Quam Verde, which is Latin for to be rather than to seem, right? So we are real. We are not what we are perceived to be. And you will also see those dates flanking the top and bottom of our North Carolina seal. So we have a lot of transplants here, especially from up north. We have transplants here from our further southern states because North Carolina has a low cost of living comparatively to some of those states. It also has all four seasons. It's very temperate. Where we live here on the coast, we don't get a ton of super cold weather. So for those of us as we get older and become more sensitive to temperature fluctuations, North Carolina is a really easy, mild state to live in, unless you're susceptible to heat exhaustion, because the summers are going to get you. But this is a really important date for us. And you may see going around, let me show up another one. This is, oh, that's a really bad picture. Let me try to make it different. This is our North Carolina license plate. So we have several options for getting license plate in North Carolina. One of those options is First in Freedom. And I've heard the question asked before at the license plate office, like, what does that even mean? You will see the same dates, the date the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence was signed, as well as the date that the Halifax Resolves were signed on that First in Freedom license plate, because North Carolina in um, For the adoption of the Halifax Resolves, April 12th, 1776, North Carolina was the first colony to send delegates to sign for our freedom from Great Britain, right? So this is important because North Carolina was the first colony to send delegates to sign and adopt those Halifax Resolves, which again preceded our Declaration of Independence. So really important. All right. So in Charlotte, Mecklenburg today, I know if you subscribe to, it's like not StubHub, Substack, there is an app that Charlotte Mecklenburg uses to release a lot of live videos related to our history in Charlotte Mecklenburg area. And they're doing a live stream today at noon. I did not see it on YouTube right before I went live, but they are doing um, a big celebration today. I think they are closing Trade and Tryon streets, and this image is a little dark, but I think they're closing Trade and Tryon streets to have folks come out. I think there's going to be a small parade if I've seen, and I do know that there is a distillery in Matthews, North Carolina, which is just on the outskirts of Charlotte Mecklenburg, that has created a rebellion bourbon, and it is $49.95. But that is a limited release bourbon celebrating today, again, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. So I'm going to add this. This is what that document is said to have looked like. Okay. So this document, again, a lot of controversy about whether it existed or not. Again, it predates the Mecklenburg Resolves by maybe 15 days, depending on the dates that you look at. There's a lot of information. And in the description, after I end this live stream, I will put some of the links to information where you can go to get more information about these documents. But the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence is said to have been produced, again, on May 20th, 1775, by a group of influential men of Charlotte, then known as Charlottetown. And this is really important because as colonial states, not necessarily the states that we know today, but as colonies, right? New Bern is really important in this time frame. I live in New Bern today. New Bern was the colonial capital of this colony between the dates of 1746 and 1792. So New Bern is the one that actually published the Mecklenburg Resolves on our printing press here in the colonial capital. So that's why these things are so important and why I think we should be celebrating them today. I don't think that a lot of people even recognize that today's date is on our state flag anymore because we don't talk as much about state history as we used to. But again, today is a really important date. It's on our flag. It's on our seal. But this area, we wanted to be free and independent of the British Crown. However, a written copy of the Declaration was not publicly available until 1819. It was U.S. Senator Nathaniel Macon who presented it in the Raleigh Register. Macon attested that the original copy was destroyed in a 1800 fire. This is where all of that kind of, does this exist? Did it not exist? It was created posthumously. Again, he had passed away, the original creator of this document. Anyway, and it was William Polk, whose father, Colonel Thomas Polk, called for an original meeting. It was solicited testimony from those who claimed to have been present and corroborated the existence of this. Okay. It was James Jack, who was a Revolutionary War officer who rode from Charlotte to the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia. He's said to have arrived right on May 19th as they were fighting the Lexington and Concord battles. Those battles are believed to be the first two battles that ignited the Revolutionary War, that earned us our freedoms. There were very few lives lost during those battles, but that was the spark that ignited this fire for freedom, if you will. So James Jack is the Revolutionary War officer who rode from Charlotte to that Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia to deliver a copy of the Mecklenburg Declaration or the Mecklenburg Resolves, whatever you choose to believe. And it was on May 19th that news of fighting in Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts reached Charlotte. And as the story goes, and I'm getting this from charlotte.edu, as the story goes, first an emotional declaration was composed that proclaimed independence. It was read aloud on May 20th at noon on the courthouse steps. The committee then wrote a second, more organized and tempered document titled the Mecklenburg Resolves. James Jack carried both documents to Congress, it is believed. He left in June, stopping first in Salisbury to read them publicly at a district court. And then in Philadelphia, he discovered the North Carolina delegates still hoping for reconciliation with England, and they stopped these from being signed as the Declaration in 1775 because they felt it premature. Okay? The authenticity of the Mecklenburg Declaration, like I said, is controversial, but there's a whole lot of documentation. Again, I will link you to some documents that I find interesting, being someone who really enjoys the history of our state. Public reading of the Mecklenburg Declaration took place again on May 20th, 1775. Its commemoration is considered important to the people of Charlotte and has been celebrated not just locally, but statewide and nationally by 4 sitting presidents, celebrities, and politicians. For many years, public schools were closed in observance of Mec Dec Day, and in 1875, the Mecklenburg Declaration Centennial Celebration brought 40,000 people to Charlotte, which then only had a population of about 6,000 people. It was huge, huge. In 1826, Dr. James Geddes McCready Ramsey, grandson of John McNitt Alexander, an original signer of the Mecklenburg Declaration, contracted with a printer in Tennessee to produce the first separate printing of the Declaration. In his letter to the printer, McCready states he wished to rescue from comparative oblivion so brilliant an event in the early history of our country, with only 6 other copies in print are known to exist. Is that not amazing? So I don't have a lot of time here at lunch today, but I did just want to jump on and make sure that you know, as someone who lives, maybe grew up in and has moved on, or someone who has moved to North Carolina from somewhere else, that today is a really important day. It's on our state flag. It's on the seal of our great state of North Carolina. It's on many license plates that you'll see as you drive around the area. And we are very excited. And New Bern, having been one of the colonial capitals, really helped signify and make sure that our Declaration of Independence, signed 1 year later, came to fruition. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy Mec Dec Day. Happy 250th anniversary.